Hello and welcome to Reddit on Reddit, the internet's auditory version of Reddit. I'm Nelson Beefcakes Allingham, joined by Michael Party Pies Cambo Campbell.
Yes, by popular demand, these are our new names.
Yeah. And you know what? I at first was a little bit outraged that this poll popped up in our subreddit because we said, I think, that if nobody voted, they would owe us money. And as such, we didn't create the poll.
Yeah.
But bloody Hazim, he found a loophole. And here we are. We have new middle names.
Hazim, at the same time, a man of the people, has now become an enemy of the show.
Yeah, that's right. I thought I was the villain. And I think he's taken over.
Well, only to you. To everyone else, he's been a hero.
Yeah, okay,
which is a very villainous outlook. To be like, I think he's the bad guy, but everyone else thinks he's the hero. But that is just how the villain sees things.
This is a real kind of Lex Luthor sort of twist.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't think he's the bad guy.
Well, I would say your middle name is better than mine because you've got Beefcake.
Beefcakes is good. I don't know. See, I know how Party Pies relates to yours. Well, I'm not quite sure. Have people been calling me Beefcakes behind my back?
Well, here's the thing. Like, every now and then we'll publish a photo of you and I, and maybe people out there are going, he's a bit of a beefcake.
Oh, that beefcake.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it as a compliment, like I'm a little bit ripped.
Yeah, that's how I kind of saw it. But yeah. Is there a way to make that an insult? I always thought beefcake was quite a flattering thing.
Oh, okay. I thought of it. Do you know why I think of it as a negative term? Is because of South Park and Cartman quite often says beefcakes.
Oh.
He's fat dude.
Yeah.
I just associate the two. But
yeah, maybe,
I'll take it as a compliment.
Maybe it's like a slightly more Australian vernacular that beefcake is normally like if someone's a bit muscular, they're a bit of a beefcake,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's true.
You
the annoying thing as well with this actually is we did say that if you didn't vote, you owed us money.
Yeah, that's true. We thought that was a joke and would forget about it, but here we are next week bringing it back up.
We are committed to this bit, and there were 16 people that voted, Cambo. So unfortunately, we don't have any money coming into us because that's, in fact, I think somebody voted twice. So if anything, we owe money.
Did you vote?
I did vote.
What did you vote for?
I voted for Party Pies.
So did I.
That's good. It's good. Anywho, I think we should get into it. Party Pies. What do you reckon?
Let's do it, BC.
Oh, BC. Okay,
Yeah.
All right. I like it.
Call me PP.
I can
I'll
PP.
call you-
Oh, so many different meanings behind that. Okay. This first Reddit on Reddit is by MicroSofty88. AR contact lenses are the holy grail of sci-fi tech. Mojo is making them real. AR being augmented reality for those who aren't up with the technical lingo that I am.
Can I just, I don't want to cause a fight right away, but I think that hover cars are the holy grail of sci-fi tech. Thank you very much.
Actually, yeah, that is true. I feel like
hover cars, like spaceships. Like, don't get me wrong, AR contact lenses sound cool, but if we're talking holy grail of sci-fi tech,
50 years ago, there weren't people going, man, I can't wait for augmented reality. In fact, as soon as we see flying cars in the sky, we'll know as a civilization that we've made it.
Yeah. Like you think of movies that set the tone for what people see the future as. Let's take, for example, Blade Runner.
Yeah.
What's the main thing you've seen in Blade Runner? Flying cars. Let's think of another one. The Fifth Element. What's the main thing you're seeing in Fifth Element? Flying cars.
Can be.
Back to the Future Part 2. What are you seeing? Flying cars.
The Jetsons.
Yeah. So Mojo, thank you very much. Get your shit in order.
It's really, after having this conversation, it's a misleading article and probably not worth discussing at all now that I think about it.
I mean, maybe we should some. It does sound like a cool idea, AR So contact lenses that you wear that can in your view only project objects and whatnot.
Yeah, that's right. So essentially, kind of like I get this is how I imagine it.
Yeah.
But you can see a screen in front of you without there actually being a screen.
Yep.
Which is so amazing, slightly scary, but something that just sort of seemed like the idea of flying cars, right? Is obviously it's the holy grail of sci-fi tech, but it seems like something that wouldn't almost be practical.
No way.
In a way?
No way would it be practical. Think of all the crashes and all the extra restrictions and all the extra guidelines and stuff that would have to go along with flying cars.
Exactly. And so because of that, nobody's really working towards it. Right? But this idea of augmented reality, or just having information in front of us so readily available without even really having a device, that just seems very much like where the world has been going for the past 20 or so years, is just let's try and get information given to us in the most simplistic, easy format, and we can become more than human because of it.
You know what slightly concerns me about this is lately I've been trying to make an actual proper effort that if I'm watching a movie or a TV show, to put my phone down and not look anything up, because you'll be like, oh, who is that? I know that guy somewhere, and you'll look him up and oh, that's why I know him, etc. etc.
Yeah,
I've been trying to go I try not to do it when I'm watching shows I really want to watch, and it is always tempting to do it. And if I don't have to pick up my phone to be able to do it, I'll only ever half watch anything. You'll just
have the thought I wonder what that guy was in, and then all of a sudden an IMDb page pops up with all the things I mean. You're like, God damn it! I can't watch anything anymore.
That's kind of dangerous, I think. To my attention span.
Yeah. I actually I don't have the exact same problem as you, but obviously, I don't care who actors are. I'm never oh, I think I saw that guy in something. Or if I do, it's really obvious.
Yeah. Nelson, that's Tom Hanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Hanks.
Yeah. Was he the volleyball in something? But the problem that I have is recently I've been watching a lot of Community. Mm-hmm. By the way, if it's been a while since you've watched Community, can't recommend it highly enough. God damn, that's a hilarious show.
I will agree with you, though. I never originally finished Community. It ran for 6 seasons, and I never actually originally finished it because it got cancelled, and then it got brought back, and then it got moved to a different network, etc. And I just didn't keep up with it. And it's now all available, all 6 seasons. And Nelson, I still haven't finished Community because the last season so far is quite bad.
Yeah, I'm up to season 4, which I think is where it gets bad.
Yeah, that's very just the
subtly started to decline.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stick through it, Camberg.
I honestly, we went in with that mindset being look, let's just finish it. No matter what, let's just finish it. The last season only has 12 episodes or something. It's really short as well. I'm let's just finish it. And last night we sat down because normally we watch something, then we put on an episode of Community afterwards. And we got to that point where we normally put on Community, and Stacey just goes, oh, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it. And I was like, me neither.
Coward, you're both cowards. Okay,
but
stick through it.
Community is a great show.
It is a great show for 3 and a bit seasons. But the problem that I have is because I've seen it before, I don't really need to be paying too much attention. So I will have my phone and I might be playing a little game. We have to connect colorful dots together and they disappear. There's 30,000 of those games, so just imagine I'm playing one of those. And so I think with augmented reality contact lenses, that would be my issue, where I'd be watching TV and I'm oh, I could just quickly pull up one of those games to the side and I don't have to touch anything. I can just think about playing this game and it happens. But otherwise, I think the concept is really cool, and I'd love to see it. And they actually did say, I did look into the article, like unbelievably briefly. You have no idea, Cambo.
No, I've got a pretty good idea.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you do, actually. That's true. I would normally need to convince you how much I did read if I did read it properly.
We've been doing this podcast for 3 odd years. I'm very aware of how little you've read this article.
But what happened is they were, and take this with a grain of salt because it was written by the people that were the people who created the technology. So probably not true at all. But they were saying that they spoke with some VCs and were, they said the feedback sometimes they would get was, well, during the presentation, you told us what it could do. Mm-hmm. And we've been through that a lot. Tech companies kind of hear this stuff all the time. But then when you actually showed us what you could do, we were surprised that it met the expectations of that and actually worked as you said that it would. And I find that kind of amazing if it is indeed true, that, makes you really think that there is something there that might actually be quite successful and maybe something we'll see in our lifetime, which would be really interesting.
And it could be one of those things that you don't realize how useful it might be until you actually implement it.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like a thing that you don't necessarily need. Like, people have lived for millions of years without this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it does have the potential to be one of those things that just kind of completely alters people's attention spans and outputs, maybe for the worse, who knows, but it does kind of have the implication that it could radically change people's behaviors, I think actually social media has. I think social media has fundamentally changed people's behaviors, and now people behave a certain way for a certain audience on a social media.
Yeah, that's right. And admittedly, I think that there are good things and bad things about that. The information that's passed through social media is really good. The problem is that can sometimes be false information. And of course, people pandering to an audience also has its issues, but, there's good with the bad. I mean, I think that cavemen missed out on matching colorful blocks together that disappear. This is sort of a personal thing that I think that was really lacking in the Dark Ages.
Do you think, though, say you were to teleport back in time, there's a caveman there, and you give him a phone and you're check this game out. Do you think human evolution would have gone a lot slower because they would just always be distracted? They wouldn't be say inventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Because they were just there playing that little...
I think I'd start disappearing, Camper. As he begins to
I've
play.
led to the extinction of the human race.
Yeah.
Also, just
they
quickly...
don't eat anymore. They don't procreate.
Also, just quickly, before we move on, I need to touch just one more time on the flying cars. Because as we know, it's the holy grail of sci-fi tech.
Sci-fi tech, I always say.
Do you think, again, let's put time travel into this, you would travel back in time to, say, the 40s and the 50s, where they used to have all those Tomorrowland kind of things where it's the flying car will be the way we all get around kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And someone would be oh, you're from the year 2020. Do they have flying cars? And you would go, oh, no, but the cars drive themselves. Do you reckon they'd be drive themselves, of course?
Oh, shit, we shouldn't be thinking about that right now. Flying cars, could you imagine how many restrictions and problems that would cause? Oh, my God, they drive themselves. That's what I would go back and tell somebody to, write the course of history. Yeah. We'd have them already, more, readily available. Jeez. Okay, Cambo, let's get into Ask Reddit. Ask Reddit. This Ask Reddit was cross-posted to us by Metaphor, but it was originally posted by Fozzie Bear the Muppet. If instead of rebooting movies, it became a trend to retell them from a different character's perspective, what film would you want to see retold and from whose point of view?
Ooh, okay. Well, I
thought this was a really interesting question, by the way.
What immediately springs to mind here is the great tragedy, the what if you will, of, do you remember in about 2010, there was a really middle of the road, lackluster movie of Robin Hood with Russell Crowe.
Yes, vaguely.
So the sad thing about that movie is how it began and how it ended are two completely different movies. And it was sold as a script called Nottingham. And it was actually the Robin Hood story, but told through the eyes of the Sheriff of Nottingham, in which Robin Hood is the villain. And he is trying to hunt down Robin Hood and his men of, like, the thieves.
He's merry men.
He's merry men. And Robin Hood is kind of like a little bit villainous and dark, and it's kind of like a twist on it, which is a really interesting way to do Robin Hood. But the problem is that they then they got Ridley Scott on board, and it got a big budget, and the studios were like, well, if we're making a Robin Hood movie, Robin Hood is the main character. That's just how it goes. And they completely undid what I think would be a really interesting movie.
Oh my God. That's so annoying.
It's remembered as being very unmemorable because it's just like such a nothing movie.
You know that Robin Hood movie? It's like all the other Robin Hood movies.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so disappointing because that would be such a great one.
Yeah.
On that topic, perhaps of outlaws, it'd be interesting to see an Australian story about Ned Kelly told from the police's perspective, where he went around killing people and robbing,
specifically killing cops.
Yeah. For some reason, we see this outlaw as a great kind of person that we do consider him like the Robin Hood, but we just gloss over all the gritty details.
Yeah, well, that story has a lot of weird kind of like factors that make it a really complicated story, I think. But you're right, because it's always told from the perspective. Just in case people don't know, Ned Kelly was a bushranger. That went on essentially like a crime bank robbing spree after killing 2 police officers, and was like the most wanted man in the country for like a year or so, and then was eventually hung and became like a folk hero because essentially the idea is that he stood up to power. Like people were being oppressed and he stood up to power.
That's the idea, but also I think it's mainly because he made this really cool suit of armor.
He did. So he is like the original Iron Man. You know, in the first Iron Man, where he comes out of the cave in the big iron armor and they're all shooting at him. So during that last bank robbery, him and his band of robbers all put on iron armor and went outside and started shooting the cops, and the cops couldn't kill them because all the bullets were bouncing off. So he essentially was like the prototype Iron Man, but with a big bushy beard.
Pretty surprising that a nation full of convicts would support an outlaw.
That's true.
Pretty bizarre concept there. Hey,
I've never thought of it that way, because it is always odd that like one of our national heroes is a guy that murdered police. But it actually, given our history, that actually makes a lot of sense now.
Quite fitting,
He murdered so many police. Yeah, what a champ! Oh my God, so proud of him.
But getting back to this question, I did think it was quite interesting. I did think that it's kind of flawed with certain movies, right? Because if you think about Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Where theoretically, on the surface, you could tell this story from the villain's point of view. And I think of not just telling it from the villain's point of view, but trying to understand the villain's motives as being good and humane.
Yeah.
But in Star Wars, there's some like very like tropey evil characters that like they talk like this, and the evil will come out and we will destroy you all.
When you get to the like in the later original ones, the Emperor, he's got the big cloak on. He's like good.
Yeah. Camber, I think I did that impression pretty spot on before you did that. So I'd appreciate it if you didn't steal my thunder next time. But yeah, that's exactly my point, right? Like, I think that you can't really retell that story where the villain is like good, or like what you would have to do it in some way like that kind of explained why he seemed so very obnoxiously evil.
Yeah.
Which actually, you know what? Thinking about it, the most recent Joker film, they kind of do tell from his perspective, and they talk about, well, like obviously he's always been considered somebody with like a mental illness sort of, but they really tried to. So, like, why he laughed so often was kind of a condition of that. And they actually did try to kind of explain why he was evil as such.
Yeah, kind of an interesting idea as well. So there are some examples of this. In fact, if you want an example of this working, look at one of the most famous musicals of all time, Wicked, which is essentially the story of the Wizard of Oz, but told from the perspective of the Wicked Witch of the East, or the West, sorry. Which, again, is like a... That story's been told over and over and over again, but that was like a really fresh way to do it. But there's even there was two movies, maybe 15 years or so now, directed by Clint Eastwood. One is called Flags of Our Fathers, which is kind of a generic World War II movie about Americans fighting the Japanese. But then about 6 months later, he released a movie called Letters from Iwo Jima, which is the same story, but told from the Japanese point of view of the same battle. And the Japanese people are the good people in that story, which is actually the better movie, but it's better when you've watched the other one as well.
Right, okay, yeah.
Like, if that makes sense.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because you've seen the more generic Americanized version of it, I suppose, and then you watch the second one from the Japanese point of view, and you see how that's really twisted in the Japanese perspective. It's really interesting.
How about the idea of like George Orwell's 1984?
Yeah, but from the point of view of Big Brother.
Yeah.
Being like, everything is in control, and that's good.
Well, I think that would be such an interesting concept. I suppose, has that been made into a movie? I mean, there's V for Vendetta, right? Which is like kind of...
Orwellian,
basically the same sort of concept.
Yeah, but it's also been a movie in the 80s, I think.
Oh, it was? Okay, right, yeah.
Fitting, actually.
Where was that when I was going through high school and was forced to read the book? But I like the idea of exploring the opposite side of that story, because you don't have to, like in the book, you don't have to explain necessarily why the government is like trying to control people. But I think that it's so ripe for being explored, because you know, like there's probably disasters that have gone on in the world because the people were, you know, not oppressed. And like there would be this slow build up as to how it got to where it is, and like very like logical reasoning behind that.
It's a prequel.
It's a prequel.
So are you suggesting that we write 1983?
I'm suggesting we give somebody else the idea and claim the money for it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Just quickly, Nelson, do you know what year the movie 1984 was released?
The movie.
Yeah. Just really think
1984?
It was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was released in 1984, which I find funny because you know how when you look something up on IMDb, it says the title of the film and then in brackets the year it was released?
Yeah.
This one just says 1984, brackets 1984.
Like, yeah, I got it. The brackets must be for the hearing impaired or something. Yeah, it is disappointing when you get to the year that a book or story is told, like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, 2015 when we all expected to have Mattel hoverboards as promised in Back to the Future Part 2.
So disappointing. We got here. Not even flying cars, Camber.
Yeah, like I remember when 2015 rolled around and Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd did come out and make some appearances and stuff. And you're like, this is all funny and stuff, but you guys promised some big stuff that you have not delivered on.
Yeah.
That's cool that you're
holding you accountable.
Yeah, it's cool that you're on Jimmy Kimmel, but I really want that hoverboard.
Yeah. Okay, here's another one, Cambo. This was cross-posted to us by Mostly Vague, but it was originally by Bomberman 64 was decent. Actually, I love that name. That's so good. If humans lived to be 500 years old, what hobbies would you get around to getting good at?
Oh, well, I think that the whole, COVID-19 shutdown is a good microcosm of this.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot, we've talked about this before, I think, is what this shutdown has made you realize is there are some things you've always told yourself to get around to that you now need to admit you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's like, I guess I actually never wanted to take up rowing after all because, I could, but I won't.
Yeah, I've got all the time. Actually, I think that's such a good point. I see, in fact, I was talking to the coffee lady downstairs, and we were talking about how other people seem to have been using this time productively. Like I see online on Reddit quite often, people are like, oh, I learned to do this fun thing, like origami during lockdown or something like that. And because I've still been working the whole time, I have a little bit more time than usual, but still I kind of feel like, I was like, oh, I want something to go horribly wrong at my work, so I'm forced to take a few weeks off. Like, I'm very appreciative I still have my job. I know there's a lot of people struggling out there, but I want to learn how to origami, Cameron. Okay.
Have you ever had the want? Because I've always kind of had this want to secretly learn a skill and then implement it really casually and play it off like it's no big thing.
Okay.
So, for
like
instance,
a piano like thing?
Yeah. Say you learn to play piano and you learn to play it quite well. And then one time, say you're at like a house or a party or whatever, and there's a piano there. And almost jokingly, you're like, oh, I'll play a little ditty. And then you play something really good. And everyone's like, I didn't know you could play the piano. And you're like, oh, yeah. Like you actually
I think you should play it off as like, oh, I've just seen videos.
What if someone goes, I didn't know you could play the piano, and you look at your hands and you go, me neither.
Yes,
oh my god.
That's a good one. Okay, well, I think see, here's my problem, right?
Yeah.
If I was to really think about it, one thing that I've always wanted to do is to learn programming. Mm-hmm. It's kind of why regular listeners will know I like Excel so much, is because there's kind of this element of like making things efficient or making things do stuff that you wanted to do through data. I find that really interesting. And so the next progression from there is any kind of like programming, like C++ or anything like that. The problem is, like, obviously I'm not doing it now because I'm lazy. The idea of this question is that, well, if you've got 500 years, you'll eventually get around to it. The problem is that programming will definitely change between now and 500 years time. Yeah. So I'm just going to like forever be on the back foot of like, all right, this year I'm going to learn programming and then I'll do a little bit and then it'll be like, oh, next month we've got this new programming program.
That's why you need to learn something that isn't modular like that. You need to learn something that is a strict skill, like, say, juggling. Like, juggling isn't going to change anytime soon. And if you learn to juggle, in 500 years, you can still juggle. And even if there are minute things that won't be too different, that I think you could probably adapt, you know what I mean? Whereas programming is so, like, constantly changing.
Yeah.
You could learn it now and then not program for a year and then be kind of out of the loop.
Yeah. I think the thing is, Camber, what you're not thinking about is in 500 years, if jugglers are only juggling beanbags, they'll be basically the scum of the earth. So I think you misunderestimate how much juggling may evolve,
I'm surprised that juggling is still around. Like,
I understand. It's ridiculous.
I understand in, like, the medieval court, and a jester came out and he juggled some things, and people were like, oh, well, there's literally nothing else to do. Like TV isn't around, etc. This is what they said at the time.
Yeah, Community's up to season 5. I don't want to watch that.
I understand that juggling was like a fun, kooky novelty, but the fact that it is still a thing is very surprising.
I think what happened was that one guy started juggling chainsaws, and then we were like, well, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the peak. There's no more point of juggling anymore because we've done it. We've completed juggling. I think that's what happened. Anyway, Camper, we should move on to Today I Advice. So now it's time for Today I Learned. Today I learned. And also sometimes advice. This Today I Learned was, I'm not sure if somebody cross-posted this. Anyway, it's by Iceburn. Today I learned about Faye McKenzie, whose movie career lasted 100 years. She was in a silent movie in 1918 as an infant and was in over 50 films, ending with a cameo in 2018. She lived to be 101.
All right. Well, you know what, Nelson?
Yep.
I've never heard of her.
I've never heard of her either. Failure, if you ask me.
If you don't make it in 100 years, you really have to think, is this for you?
You may as well die.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually I see what's happened. It doesn't say by natural causes, Canberra. She could have just been really depressed with her career. Yeah. She was trying so hard, and the last thing she could get is a cameo?
Yeah, she missed out on that last pilot for a TV show that she really wanted. And she's like, it's been 100 years.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that they didn't name any of the films that she was in also suggests that, yeah, you could work steadily as an actor, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a successful, known actor.
I think there are a lot of people that are like that. That just kind of live their life as an actor, but they're not ever like super famous and may not even necessarily want to be that like super famous actor. Yeah. They just kind of have some casual parts here and there, and that's their occupation.
I urge people to look up a guy called Jesse Hyman. That's his name.
Oh, I think I have heard of him before.
Yeah, he's an extra, and you'll recognize him from being an extra in pretty much everything you've ever watched. And once you know his face, you see him everywhere. He's in so many things. In fact, I was watching a show just the other day, and he popped up as like a featured extra in that as well, with like proper lines and everything. And I was kind of like, oh, you did it. You got a line.
Do you reckon it's kind of like a joke at this point, where producers or casters are like, let's check Jesse in.
Yeah. And if people don't like, he's kind of like a slightly chubby, redhead, curly. Like, he stands out a lot, which is really interesting for an extra.
Yeah.
Where the idea is to blend in completely. He really stands out in every scene. But
that's why they have to give him a line.
Yeah. It's like people keep noticing him. Make him say something. But yeah, like I would say that he's probably had a career that's 20 years or so, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's like a successful actor.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that he has rent concerns just like anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I promise I can pay next month. Yeah. I'm in the background of Community season 9.
I think he is in Community.
He probably is.
Yeah. He's in everything.
Here's what I'm thinking though, Cambo. When I see a challenge, I like to accept that challenge and defeat it metaphorically. Here's what I was thinking we could do is, so her career lasted 100 years.
Yeah.
I've been in a film, maybe more than one. I can't remember. Some crappy Australian one. Actually, you have two, right? You're an extra in something.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've both started our film career. Yeah. Is the thing.
Yeah. She did as an infant, which is really hard to beat, though.
Well, Cambo, this is where my genius comes in handy. Yeah. All we have to do is green screen ourselves doing mundane tasks in the background. Just like, just you and I having a casual conversation.
Yeah.
We'll mumble rhubarb to each other a lot.
Yep.
I've heard that's the trick.
Yep.
Maybe, one of us takes a sip of coffee and then spits it out.
Yeah.
That could be used for something.
Yep. There's just various reactions.
Yeah.
Laughter.
Oh my God, I can't believe they said that.
Look out, Spider-Man. We can say that, and maybe we'll be in the back of a Spider-Man movie one day.
Oh my God, we could be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In fact, now that you say that, all our green screens should be Marvel related.
Doc, Captain America.
Yeah, that's right. So I think this is the way to really circumvent. And then we could be those guys, like that Jesse guy, we could be the guys that are like, oh, hey, those guys that died 1,000 years ago? How about we put them in the background as a bit of a lark?
In the meantime, we'll shoot ourselves on a green screen reacting to various things in the Marvel Universe. And if people could take those clips and constantly send them to the Marvel cast and crew, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah, that'd be great.
What's...
All right, look, I've thought about it. Out of most of our ideas, I think we should do this one.
Well, I mean, we need to think about what's coming up. I know the Eternals is coming up. It's recently been delayed, but Black Widow's probably done. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're probably finished, but the Eternals. So we'll put ourselves on a green screen. We'll say, "Look out, the Eternals." I don't know much about them.
Yeah. Good. That's great. Just pointing to the sky.
Yeah.
In fact, you could be put in any Marvel universe.
Here's one that will get us into a lot of movies. I think he's getting away.
Oh, great. Great. Yeah. Just scream. We could invent the new Wilhelm scream. Where we scream, but on a green screen, and they use us in every horror film.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I just like the idea that we can be composited into crowd scenes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. We need to be... That'd be really hard to green screen. We'd have to be like squished together so that they could very carefully sort of cut us in between two people.
Nelson, that's not our problem.
Oh, yeah, obviously. Okay, I was thinking we've kind of been going for a little while already.
Yeah, you want to move on?
Nah, screw it. Who am I to care about how long this episode goes? Okay, this next one is by Shammy Jane. And it's some advice. My boyfriend named my Cootchie Cersei from Game of Thrones. I've told him it's a turnoff and he won't stop. Help.
Okay, now this is interesting.
This opens up so much.
Because I think the way around this is to give his penis a nickname. But you got to pick the right one. And it needs to be Game of Thrones related.
I've got it. I'm assuming we're going to say the same thing, but you go.
I'm saying the obvious answer is Jaime Lannister, right?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, because then it makes it weird for him. But
yeah.
If he's a fan of Cersei Lannister, he probably knows that. And the real question is that what he's thinking in his head?
Oh my God, he's already into the interrelational sex campaign. He's already named his penis Jaime.
This is the risk that you run. Being like, all right, well, if I'm Cersei, you're Jaime. And he goes, yes. Then you've got a real conversation to have.
Okay. Yeah, that is a problem.
Yeah. But if you were to name his penis Bran Stark, no one wants to be Bran Stark.
Nobody, even at the end, when he's, spoilers, crowned, the king, it's like, nobody still likes him. I reckon... I imagine in that universe, you don't see it obviously because that's where the story ends, supposedly, but everybody just leaves.
Yeah.
They just leave the kingdom.
What if you name it after Peter Dinklage's character, right?
Oh, yeah, implying.
Because then you say, look, I enjoy it, but it's small.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, but still incestuous.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that makes it double as bad.
Yeah. Oh, boy. I tell you what. Shammy Jane, you've got yourself in a pickle.
Yeah, you've got yourself a real pickle.
This is a problem. Is there something else that she could call her Cootchie that maybe could prevent you, maybe even just personally, Cambo, you're like, I'm not putting my penis in something named...
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Now you finish that sentence.
Yeah.
But quickly, Cambo, we're on a podcast and the timing is important.
I don't know, Jaws.
Okay.
Either the shark or the Bond villain. They're both fine.
Great. How about off yogurt?
Don't, as we've discovered on Reddit, don't name it coconut because that will not stop people putting their penis inside it.
in fact, more people might try.
Yeah. Or the other thing I think you can do if you want to go kind of like mental warfare is I think that if he's naming your Cootchie after a character from Game of Thrones, maybe a little bit of a nerd, right? And if there's one thing that I think that angers nerd is when you confuse properties with each other. So you should keep like all right, well, I'm going to name yours after Game of Thrones. Your penis is called Gandalf. And because you just know he'd be like, well, I see what you're saying, but technically Gandalf is Lord of the Rings. And he'd be like, I don't think so. I think your penis is Gandalf from Game of Thrones.
And then what you'll see here the kind of cogs working behind the scenes in the back of his mind, and he'll eventually kind of sigh and be like, okay. And then you say, I mean Gandalf the Grey. And then, oh man, he will be. And then here's the bet. Call it Gandalf, and say that you think Gandalf is from Game of Thrones. That'll kick him. Yeah. But then when he goes to have sex with you, stop him just before, and say, "You shall not pass." Yeah. Good.
I think that's it.
So it's very rare that we give advice that solves problems.
What are you talking about now? So I feel week in, week out, we give advice that solves problems.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's true. But none of them are so well done as this one. So you're welcome, is what we want to say. Okay, Campbell, let's get into shower thoughts.
Shower thoughts, shower thoughts, shower thoughts, shower thoughts.
This shower thought was cross-posted to us by Mostly Vague, but was by the Reddit user Dr. Awkward 404. Under new management signs are the tactful way of saying, we know the last owners were shit, but give us a chance. I always do think this whenever I see that sign. I also take it as a way to say, like, if you have something ongoing with the old establishment, that's gone. Yeah.
Like, you've had an old agreement or even an old grudge, like in this case, saying that, they're shit. But if they say it was like a liquor store and they always sold you alcohol even though you're underage, it's your way of being like, well, that's gone.
Yeah.
Any standing relationship you think you had, that's gone.
In fact, this is probably a notice to people that are about to sell their business to new management is promise people stuff. You just absolutely not going to follow through with.
Say you're like an electronic retailer and you're selling your business in like a week, and someone comes in looking at a TV and you're like, you know what? 70% off this TV. Come back in 2 weeks. 70% off the TV. That's a promise.
Yeah.
That's
guaranteed.
Here, take this written affidavit.
Yeah, that's right. I almost see this under new management sign, I want to say almost exclusively on fish and chip shops. It is always, I don't know whether that's a staple anywhere else in the world, but in Australia, it's like, I reckon 80% of the time that I see one of those under new management signs, it's for a fish and chip shop. And I'm not even convinced that they do change management. I think it's like, wow, we've annoyed so many people. We'll just tell them we've changed and hopefully get their business back again.
So are you saying that once favorable view of this podcast wanes, we'll just slap an under new management sign on it? On the thumbnail, we won't change a damn thing.
Yeah.
But all those people that have been wronged by the podcast in the past are like, well, let's see what's going on now. They've got new management now.
Yeah. It accomplishes two things, I think. One, for all our poorer episodes, they can be out. Well, they won't have those again. Okay, so that's good. But also, they might be like, oh, I didn't even realize they had management. They're actually much more classy than I initially thought.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So it's kind of a double whammy, which I think is good. In fact, every couple of weeks, I need management.
That's good. That's good. Shiny and new.
Our listenership might skyrocket.
And every now and then when people are cottoning on to under new management, we'll do the other vague marketing term that means nothing. New and improved.
Yeah, new and improved. Yeah. or closing down
that's a good one.
sale. You know they're not closing down.
And also,
They're supposed to sell you more shit. It goes closing down sale under new management, but nothing's changed. Okay, here's another one. This is by Tony Byland. Being proactive is rarely rewarded because if your actions avoided a tragedy, there is no tragedy to prove your actions were warranted.
so then what's the point, I guess, is the great takeaway. What's the point of ever being proactive if you'll never be rewarded? I do things mainly for the reward, Nelson. I don't know if you know this about me.
Yeah. I do everything for the reward. This podcast is obviously for the huge podcasting bucks. We've yet to cash in.
When we do.
But any day now it's going to happen. But yeah, I think it's such a good point that it's like, I feel like there's lots of people that regret maybe not being as proactive, or like I'm expanding this to a much broader aspect, but like maybe I didn't try hard enough in school or something like that, right? Because it's like if you did try hard, then you're reaping the benefits of that. But that, you could have people that sort of tried really hard their whole lives, and they're like, oh, what have I missed in my life? Instead of studying, I could have been experiencing life, and I've ruined all that time. I think kind of the idea is that doing anything is really the issue. Like, don't do anything.
Yeah, that's a good lesson to take away. You've now brought it down to its essence. Don't do anything.
Yeah. Don't do anything. Don't study. Don't be proactive. You might regret it. There might not even be rewards at the end
which
of
in
it.
a way, this COVID-19 thing is a blessing, because now people, you might go, I should go out, and you go, no, don't do that. Don't do anything. Don't do anything.
Yeah. Don't do anything. This is the way of life. It's far better.
I quite like that. I quite like that as a life philosophy. Yep.
Yeah.
As I can imagine, say your eulogy. I'm eulogizing you. You've died young and tragic.
Okay.
And I'll say, well, as Nelson always
fair.
said, don't do anything. And everyone would nod their head. He did often say that.
Yeah, and he often didn't do anything.
He lived the words he spoke.
In fact, that's why he died.
He was bleeding out.
He should have left the house when it was on fire. He just didn't do anything. Okay, Camber, let's get into podnapping.
Oh my god, I'm being podnapped! Podnapping.
This is Podnapping, where we nap a pod. I don't even know why I'm introducing it as that anymore. I very rarely take segments from another podcast and do them myself, even though that's what this segment's about. Oh, no, wait. Technicality, I remember. Camber, you would know. So a couple of weeks ago when our episode effed up, I did my podnapping segment, and I'm betting you thought that was not a great podnapping segment, but now that Nelson's had 2 weeks off, he'll probably come back with a better
I would think that
episode.
until I saw the show notes.
Yeah. Then it was very obvious that I had just kept the same, because couldn't think of anything else.
Okay, so
actually there was
just
was
for context
some.
for those that didn't have the benefit of listening to the other half of the shorter episode a few weeks ago. During the episode, you said, I don't know about this segment. I don't know if it's going to work. And then we did it. And then you said, look, I don't know if it worked that well. And then the next week we mentioned it. And you're like, oh, thank God that didn't happen. And after all of that, you've kept it.
You know what my philosophy is,
Don't do
Camber?
anything.
Don't do anything. That means redoing a podnapping segment that you could fix. So... Anyway, this podnapping segment is, and loophole, I did come up with the idea and then searched a podcast, and turns out there is a podcast titled Would You Rather? So I'm not really doing anything against the rules, if you think about it. But obviously, I've just put in a bunch of Would You Rather questions I found from a website, and we're going to do them.
Yep. So essentially, you cotton onto the fact that people quite like to pose Would You Rather questions to us from time to time. And you've decided just to make well, that would make a good podcast. Obviously, everything ever has already been a podcast, so you're covered there.
Yeah.
So we've reverse engineered. We're podnapping. We should make out a podcast that you've listened to about 5 minutes of.
Oh, not even. I don't even think I got through the first minute. I kind of scrubbed through, and I was like, I realized after listening to just a tiny amount, I was like, why am I listening to this? I don't need to listen to this podcast to understand the concept. I know what the concept is already. So I immediately stopped listening.
Okay, so how do you want to do this? Do you want to go one by one, or do you just want to read them all? How do you want to do it?
I'm going to read them all to you. And I feel like that makes it a bit more like it's my segment, even though it's just...
Yeah, it's just not that. I'm assuming.
Look, can I just say
you didn't write these. You went to a website of Would You Rather questions. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you haven't invented the segment. You've gone to a website and copy and pasted, and then reverse Google searched to make sure it was a podcast. Yeah. I appreciate how far you went to not do work. Yeah,
do nothing, Camper. Just do nothing. So, I'm just going to say, I do have a couple of podnapping ideas, but they just take a little bit more time, which I didn't have. Okay? So just you wait. The next is going to be brilliant.
Everyone hold him to that.
Okay. Would you rather that the aliens that make first contact be robotic or organic?
Would I rather the aliens that make first contact be robotic or organic? So you may call me a pessimist here, but my mind goes to what is easier to destroy. And I don't know why, but I get the feeling that organic is easier to destroy. You know what I mean? Because robots have the potential of being like a network. So you shoot one alien in the back of the head while it's looking the wrong way, and all of the robots get alerted to that. But organic, you shoot him in the back of the head while he's not looking. No one knows. You bury him in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when the second alien...
That's actually how you kill all the aliens. Shoot them in the back of the head.
The second
alien
alien comes being like, what happened to the first alien we sent down here? And you just, I don't know, we never saw an alien. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, is that him over there? That's a pretty good plan, Cambo. But you're forgetting that we can just black out the sky, which worked pretty well in the Matrix.
So is that... Okay. So if they're robots, we black out the sky. Yeah. That's...
that won the Matrix battle.
That's if they're like solar-powered robots?
I mean, they've got to get energy from somewhere, Cambo. They're of this universe.
Nelson, I didn't watch the third Matrix. I'm unfamiliar with how the robots are defeated, other than now I've now learnt that they black out the sky.
It's in the... Okay. Well, look. It's in the first Matrix, and also... they don't defeat them. That's when they start using the energy of humans to survive. That's actually kind of the point of the movie, is that the robots attacked humans, and so the humans blotted out the sky so that they could get no power from solar energy. So with their remaining energy, they get that from the humans. And then they create the Matrix.
So I thought you were saying in the final battle of the third Matrix, which again I haven't seen. That was the climax, which I was going to say is very weird, but I wouldn't put it beyond it.
I can't believe that you haven't seen
enough
the third
people
Matrix.
Told me not to. You ever had a film like that?
It wasn't even that bad. I don't think it was horrible. I've seen far worse movies.
Look,
season 6 of Community is far worse. I assume. I haven't watched it, obviously. There's enough people warned me not to. here's what I'd like. See, you're thinking, Cambo, that aliens will take over the world.
This? I've been taught by the best movie in the world, Signs, to be very cautious of alien invasion.
Well, obviously, if we were going by that movies, we definitely want the organic life form because they don't fucking like water.
I don't reckon robots like water, to be fair.
That's true. But
see, water solves all.
They could just
Signs was correct.
Yes. Well, I mean, they could just... It would be fine. Robots, I think, would be waterproof if they're traveling.
If they've conquered interstellar travel, they've probably conquered waterproofing a robot shell.
Yeah. But you're assuming that they're going to take over. What I'm imagining is we get Transformers, which are actually alien life form, and then we've got kind of just cool robots hanging around. Some are evil, but name a Transformers where the Autobots don't win.
It's interesting you bring up Transformers because they are
you can't think of one
example of an alien that is kind of an organic and a robotic life form.
Yeah,
those I would say those and Daleks are probably the only two examples that fit both bills. And I would much rather a Transformer than a Dalek.
Aren't Daleks just wearing a robotic
just like a chassis
shell?
or something? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, only nerds will get that conversation. Freaking nerds. Anyway, here's another would you rather. Would you rather be able to control animals with your mind, not humans, or control electronics with your mind?
Animals, I think, because I think well, here's the thing, Nelson. I think technology is going to evolve to the point where that's what they're trying to do, right? They're essentially trying to get you to be able to control electronics as effortlessly as possible. But animals, you'll never, they won't evolve in that way. So then down the line, if you've got electronics that you can kind of, like the AR contact lenses and stuff, you have that advantage too, but also you control animals.
Here's the thing, Cambo. Put a little cap that communicates with the animal via electronics. You can control animals too.
Also, I didn't consider this. You know what's electronic is a lot of banking. That's
the number one reason why I'm going straight to electronics. I'm going to walk up to an ATM, disable the camera, obviously, that's inside, that's identifying my face, take out a few $100s. I'm done.
A few hundred is very restrained of you.
It can, but you don't want to take too much because otherwise they'll like narrow you down. Then they'll take you to a government facility and do experiments on you. Like, oh, how's this guy?
Yeah, but what are they going to do? Lock you in a cage?
They'll work out some wooden cage.
It'll be like,
to lock
Magneto at the end of X-Men, where they've got him in the plastic prison. But they'll have like the old steel, big locks. And then the irony is, like in Pirates of the Caribbean, they'll put that big key in a dog's mouth. You'd be like, God damn it! If I had controlled animals, I could have got out of here.
Oh no! I need to call Cambo. Okay. Here's another one. Would you rather have all the traffic lights you approach turn green, or never have to stand in line again?
It's a good question. I think I would rather not have to stand in line ever again.
Wrong again, Cambo. But you talk me through why, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. That's actually the name of this segment. I've changed it. The name of this segment is Cambo's going to say the wrong thing, and Nelson will correct him.
I'll be honest. Listen, I'm thinking mainly of theme parks.
Yeah.
I
knew you'd go there.
The problem is I've also remembered there's front of the line passes at theme parks. So you do have that ability now. Again, here's the problem. I keep answering off instinct.
But still sometimes there's lines.
But they're pretty inconsequential lines. Here's the problem. This just shows how poor my instincts are, because I'll answer via instinct, and then I'll think about it for a second and go, "Oh no, hang on."
Yeah. Well, Well, look, let me explain to you the flaw with this. We need to use logic, okay? The thing is, if you get every traffic light you approach to turn green, that's just incredible luck, okay? But if you don't have to stand in line ever again, if you go to Disneyland, there is always going to be lines, right? And unless under exceptional circumstances. So here's what happened. You make this deal with the genie that so often pops up in this show, and you say, oh, I never want to stand in line again. Here's just a couple of things that might happen. Nuclear war breaks out, and Disneyland nobody goes there anymore. So you can go to all the theme parks you want, no lines. Number 2, he cuts off your legs. You're not standing in line anymore. You're sitting in a wheelchair. Number 3, getting back to Disney, Sony buys out, in a bizarre twist, the Spider-Man movie takes off, makes more money than all the other movies
we're in
combined. Sony buys out Disney. Then Disneyland turns into some sort of like biblical land, and nobody's going on the rides there anyway. So when you line up, there's no point. You've ruined your whole experience just because you chose lines, Cambe.
What about this? The world is ending, and they're like, we've got a rocket ship.
Yep.
Take off the planet. It is first come, first served. And there's huge lines to get on the rocket ship. Not everyone's going to get on, but I wander up. Not a problem for me. I just hop straight on the arc that's going to take me off the planet, and I survive the apocalypse. Or let's say bunker as well for nuclear war.
But you're assuming that there's this like magic ability that you'll get to the front of the line. I'm saying there's like a curse where lines are no longer relevant.
It's like
anymore.
one of those Twilight Zone twists. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, okay, so
I think the cutting off of your legs is the most likely thing to happen. If you make this deal with somebody, they're like, sure, you don't have to stand in lines anymore.
What if the other twist is then?
That's it.
You get green lights wherever you go, but that just means the lights suddenly change, and there's just always pylon crashes in every intersection you go through. You're constantly seeing hideous car crashes.
I die in a car crash in the first set of lights I go through after making the deal.
Yours goes green, but that doesn't mean the others go red.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, here's another one. Would you rather feet that continue to grow as you got older, or hands that continue to grow as you got older?
I think I've got quite small hands anyway. Look how small my hands are, Nelson. You can see them on the screen.
So I call you.
It depends, because now I'm thinking about the
hands.
ironic consequences that are going to happen. Because my instinct, which will inevitably be wrong, is hands. Because
so
I don't really wear gloves, so it's easier. Like I don't have to constantly keep buying new, bigger and bigger shoes all the time. But now I'm thinking, what if they blow up to the size of like, they're like two times the size of my head or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, feet being 2 times the size of your head would.
You'd be very stable.
Actually,
You'd be very stable. Hard to knock you over.
Yeah, that is true. Well,
that's true. And then it becomes the
hindrance. Okay. Look, I was initially going to also say hands, but now that I've committed to this thing of you being wrong, I've got to come up with a good argument as to why it should be feet. Perfect reason, actually. Didn't know why I didn't think about this in the first place. Is if your hands grow larger, then when you masturbate, you'll become more and more insecure. And unable to probably at some point.
Nelson, you know what they say about big hands. So maybe as my hands grow bigger, as per the saying, as does all my other things,
That, you know what? I'll concede this one. This one's yours. Okay, I have one last one here. Would you rather be alone for the rest of your life or always be surrounded by annoying people?
I feel like you would do better alone because, like, you are quite a solitary person anyway, just by habit.
Can I tell you this conversation I had with one of our friends?
Yeah.
Oh, Eden. He's been on the show recently. Just the other day, he was like, "How do you do it? How do you live?" Because he hasn't been working, so he's been stuck at home a lot. And I think, like, especially, he's a very sociable person.
He came on this podcast. We didn't even want him here. That's how social he is.
Yeah, exactly. He just needed the interaction.
No, seriously, go and listen.
Yeah, he was
go and
saying,
listen
like,
to
how do you
cancelled
do it?
movies,
'Cause
just
I've
quickly. I should point out, go and listen to cancelled movies. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, obviously. So he was just saying, like, how do you do it? Because I'm living by myself now. I've lived by myself for a year previously. And he was like, I don't know how you do it. And I was like, I don't really know either, but I'm just so comfortable in, like, not having to be around people. And I think that, like, I don't know, like, I just surpassed the point, I think, of, like, needing other people around. Like, when I see other people and when I, catch up with you or all my other friends, I was like, it's great. But otherwise, like, I don't really need it.
Which is a good place to be. That means you've got all the power. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You say that every time we hang out. You're like, just to be clear, I don't need you. Yeah.
I could be at home by myself.
That
right
would be
now.
fine. I think I would.
So you're thinking always surrounded by annoying people?
I think I probably would say by myself. Because I'm okay by myself, but I guess it's just slightly more untested with me,
Yeah, that's true. I think, like, ignoring my kind of already ability to be by myself a lot, it's starting to sound more depressing. I've never really said it out loud this many times before. But being surrounded by annoying people, it's just not worth it. I feel like you can have a more satisfying life without annoying people. Anywho, that's it for the Would You Rather podcast. You can search this podcast by typing "Would you rather" in, like, any podcasting app. You probably could also try searching "Would you rather but we're drunk." That might also turn up with results.
Yeah. Would you rather,
probably.
but it's like 6 people and there's only one microphone.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Cambo, now it's time for Ask Me Anything, where listeners of the show, just like you, listener, can write in and ask us anything you want.
I don't know if you can believe this, Nelson, but Zachary had the audacity to write in. He said "Dear Nelson and Michael," which he called me by my first name, which is rare on the show.
You're Party Pies to everybody now.
Everyone knows me as Party Pies. He wants to know, do you guys have a hidden talent? Example, piano, woodwork, the ability to make a perfect coffee, etc. Salutations from Canada, Zachary. Nelson, do you have a hidden talent?
Yep.
No,
I can do this sometimes under the right circumstances. Either after I've brushed my teeth or after I've drinking
here's the thing.
a soda.
It's hidden, so you don't tell anyone. He just wants to know, do we have one? He didn't ask what it was.
Yeah, I'm leading people to guess what that means.
So,
I can only do this after brushing my teeth or drinking, like, soda or something syrupy. You decide what my talent is. You bet you can't think of it.
Also, you can sing.
It's a little bit gross.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's belching. No.
Nope. After brushing my teeth.
I was mainly thinking the other thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something oral.
Yes.
After brushing...
I like that this is turned into a game.
Sorry,
What's the weird thing
after brushing your
mouth?
teeth. That's the one that's really throwing me. Is it smile a brilliant smile?
But that's not a hidden talent. This is what I do day to day.
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Okay, well, Campbell, look, I can tell you, but you can't tell anybody else because it is my hidden talent. I I can blow spit bubbles off my tongue.
Oh, really?
But there needs to be a bit of like some sort of syrupy kind of, flavor. I can't just have clean saliva. It's super gross. A friend taught me how to do it.
You've labeled that as a talent. And
is that not a talent, Cambo?
It's a thing you can do.
Can you do that? Okay. I'm annoyed that you've had to make me do this.
You're furiously typing.
Talent definition. Natural aptitude or skill.
Is it a skill? Is it a skill? A skill would imply that it's useful in some way, right?
Can you do... Oh, okay. Skill definition. Definition. The ability to do something well. Expertise. I can do it well, Campo. You can't even do it at all.
Well, I guess I've never tried, and I shan't. No,
try.
Because I haven't had anything syrupy, have I? Go brush my teeth.
You can't then. I guess you can't.
Well, you do it now. Do it right now.
Okay. Oh my God. Wait, I did have a honey tea just before this, so this might be okay.
By the way,
there's going to be a little bit of silence.
This is only
listeners.
for my benefit.
Hey,
you did it.
Yeah, I can. Very close. It keeps popping on my tongue, but I can get it to float off.
This is the most uninteresting thing we've ever done for the listeners.
It is. Do you know the funniest thing? I actually remember once doing this. So I don't know why, but my friend taught me how to do it, and so I was like, okay. And the funniest thing happened one time because it was like only me, my friend, and one of my other friends that really knew that we could do this, and we were in a conversation. These two other friends, and then like some other person. I want to say it was like an authoritative figure of some sort. I wasn't sure who, maybe like a manager or something. I don't know. And I had just been in the habit of blowing bubbles, which is honestly a really gross thing to get in the habit of doing. And so I blew one, and it kind of flew up, and then gently in the center of our group kind of floated down and then popped in thin air. But the funniest thing was this person's eyes just didn't know where the bubble came from, didn't see it be blown out of my mouth, but just watched it as it seemingly, this bubble came from nowhere and then popped in the middle of the group. And this person furrowed their brow. I cannot understand what's going on here. What in the world just made a bubble drop from the ceiling, basically? And it was really funny.
There you go. Blowing bubbles on your tongue.
Yeah. What can you do, Cambo, about nothing as good as that?
Yeah, I don't know if there is anything as good as that. I'm trying to think. I feel like I have small hobbies, but they're not that interesting. I think the one that surprises people most, although I haven't done it in a few years, is I can ride a horse.
Oh yes, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a hidden talent.
Because something that I don't think you'd expect of me is that we grew up with a horse. Well, we actually grew up with a few horses.
Yeah.
I think I did know that. You knew
it
because you've known me for 13 years.
For 3 years since we started this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't know each other on episode 1. So we grew up, we had maybe 3 or 4 horses throughout my childhood. So we've always had horses around. And again, I haven't done it in years and years, but it's like riding a horse, Nelson. You just get back on and it kind of kicks back in. But more than just the standard trail ride where you wear the big helmet and it just plots along on a trail. I can ride a horse.
Yeah. Not losers horse riding, as I like to call it.
Trail riding.
Real horse riding. Yeah. Okay, that's good. We've both got hidden talents. I think mine's better. But you decide. Okay, I have one here. It's by Varen Vanga. Wait. Did we learn the pronunciation of this last week? I think we did.
Possibly.
It's like Varun. Yeah, I think it's Varun. I think it's Varun. Anyway, Varun. I also wanted to ask. Yeah, see, this was meant to be part of the last email, and I totally just forgot. So, I know you don't add a lot of relationship advice, but I need some advice. He said he can't get over his ex. Background: I dated her for 3 months and we got along really well. After 2 months, I got the news that we were moving to another state And I told her, what I didn't tell her, I should have told her from the beginning, is that I was bi. I was really ashamed of that side, and I hadn't come out to my parents then. I think one of my friends told her, highly doubt it, but possible. Well, all that aside, we broke up the day I was moving, and I couldn't bear it to make myself better. I told myself that I would find someone in the new school. But I haven't. It's been 1 year, and I'm still not over her. I really don't know what to do. My friends say to find someone, and until then, I don't know what to do because I expect it to be a long time until I find someone. What should I do to cope? Reddit. This was actually posted to Reddit. It was a screenshot. But we're Reddit. We're responsible for Reddit.
We speak officially on their behalf.
Yes. Don't tell them
Please don't tell them that. Because if you tell them, the jig is up. Because they also probably don't know that we use their probably copyright logo.
Yeah. Here's what I think. I feel like purely by being an older person, I can give you advice on this, which is that, like, I've had girls that I've been totally hung up over before. Totally hung over, like, you know, months, years, still can't, you still think about the relationship that, you know, you might have had with them. But honestly, it just ends up fading away because I think two things happen is, like, one, you change as a person a lot. I think, like, advice that people don't get when they're younger, which they should way more, is like, you change heaps as a person when you grow up. Like, it seems like you'll always have the same interests and, you know, be around the same types of people and whatever, but that shit just changes so drastically. And so I think because of that, you end up being interested in somebody else who has those likes that you currently do now. And the other thing is, like, you will eventually just find somebody else. It just happens. And, like, I know right now it's super sucky, but the thing is, like, there's nothing that we can tell you that will really make you feel better aside from the fact that we know that it
and
does.
the real kick in the balls is that you won't notice it happen. It will just have happened one day. And that's the sucky bit, is there isn't a point where you're like, yes, here is the point in which you are over a relationship. But you will find that one day someone will, like, mention her or something like that, and you just don't really react. You're like, oh, yeah. And they go, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think the other thing that's important to know is, unless your hands have grown to twice the size of your head, you can still masturbate. So, in fact, even if they have, I think we've established that your penis grows with you. So.
But I would say, like, to the advice, I can't get over my ex, what should I do? I think that it's almost a non-answer, because the thing is, you can get over your ex and you will get over your ex. It just doesn't feel like it right now.
Yeah.
So it's like a non-question almost. It's like you can get over your ex and you will get over your ex. It's just going to take some time and it's going to suck. It's been a year, which I know sounds like a long time, but the older you get, the lesser years really seems like anything.
Yes. Do you know what? Okay, slight off topic, but I've always thought about this, was that, they say that the years seem to feel shorter. And I remember, like, not even that long, maybe like a year ago, I read or somebody pointed out the fact that, like, well, you know, if you're one, then that's 1 year is 100% of your life. So it feels so young, so long. And so as you grow up, each year represents a smaller percentage of your life. And and that made me so, like, that blew my mind when I thought about the concept like that. And I was like, really? Time goes so fast. And, like, it will, you know, this 1 year that it's been, it's probably felt like such a long time. But when you're, 20 or whatever, you'd be like, that was just a blip on the radar, of the time that I went through. And as the older you get, like, that kind of, those times where you're like, oh man, I remember being so upset that time. It was like such a small part of your life.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully, I know there's probably advice you hear everywhere, but the reason you hear it everywhere is because it's true. So we have another email here from Carson. It says, "Lil up, fellow beings. I'm currently in the process of binging your show. I am at episode 102 or something. I haven't listened to any of the episodes within the last 2 years yet, and I'm too lazy to go listen to them now. I'll eventually get to them. I appreciate the laziness here and the admission to the laziness. Anyway, they have a few questions for us. The labeling of which amused me. Number 1, how do you like your current logo? B, so I like the switch from numbers to letters. If you had a servant, and it could be anyone in the world, who would it be? Number 4, what's your favorite color? E, what's your favorite movie, and what would you change in it? Plot, casting, special effects, etc. G, to Nelson, what is it like being the villain of the show? 7, to Cambo, what is it like to talk to the villain of the show for an hour straight every week? And F, lastly, if you were smart, what would be the first thing you would make to make your life easier? Good luck, guys, and read you later. Cheers, not a cousin, Carson."
But who's not cousin is he?
That's true. You got to be someone's cousin.
Do you remember inventing the word Lillip? I think we invented the word Lillip, and I don't remember the context behind it, but I know we did.
I feel sometimes that the ghost of this show comes to haunt me, where people will bring up something we have done. It is our fault that this thing exists, and then I just have no recollection of it. But yes, Lillip does vaguely ring a bell, but I can't for the life of me remember why. So if anyone can remember, please let us know what this word that we invented.
Or don't. We'll just forget again anyway.
All right, so question 1, how much do we like our current logo? Well, our current logo is just the Reddit logo.
Yeah, we can't talk anything ill of it.
And here's the thing. Here's the cynical inside look at this podcast. We did somewhat figure that if our podcast looked more like the official Reddit podcast than the official Reddit podcast, we might trick people into listening to us. And from what I understand is that has happened several times. So I regret nothing.
Yeah, it's definitely happened. And we are okay with it.
So yeah, we think it's working well.
I was actually wondering if he was on episode 102. I don't remember when we changed our logo, but maybe
we did have an old one. But I think, again, some insider information, when we changed it, I think it refreshes everywhere. So I think even the old ones...
I think it's still in some random places. Okay. I've seen it online.
The other one's fine.
Anyway, but that was just snoo anyway. So it still kind of wasn't... We don't really have a logo.
We don't.
Yeah. But I like it.
Yeah, it's working well.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay, next question. If you had a servant, and it could be anyone in the world, who would it be?
Easy question. This would be Alfred from Alfred and Batman. Why would I choose Alfred? Because it means I would be Batman.
Means your parents
Next
would be
question.
Don't Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I've thought about this. Like the idea of like having like a maid or a servant. I feel like it would make me kind of uncomfortable because I feel like
definitely,
I would make a mess and then just have to ask someone else to clean it up. So I would like partly clean it first and then, you know what I mean? Like,
I know a lot of people that do that. I've had not a lot of people, but I know in the past I've met people that are like, "Oh, I got to clean the house. The cleaner's coming over tomorrow." It's like, what?
So how about this, Nelson? I will also have Alfred, and I know what you're thinking. How can that be? Guess what? I'm Robin. Yeah, we live in that big house together.
Your parents are also dead. You monster.
But they died in a circus accident, which is cool.
Also. As if I had to choose another option, it'd be Sarah Michelle Gellar.
You would say Sarah Michelle Gellar. I almost put the suggestion that it can't be Sarah Michelle Gellar. But you know what? Live your life, Nelson.
Because I think the thing is, we do find that it's a bit uncomfortable if we would have a servant. But I think then I may as well lean really hard into that. and not only have the uncomfortable servant of Sarah Michelle Gellar cleaning my house, but like I'll just lean into all the Buffy questions I have.
That's good.
And be like, well, you're my servant. You have to do it. This is as awkward as it gets.
So question 4. What's your favorite color or colors? I also quite like green. And you know what I've discovered, Nelson, is over the years, I've become quite fond also, I know not technically a color, of grey. Like I like a nice neutral grey. So much so, can you see the t-shirt I'm wearing, Nelson?
Okay. Yeah, it looks like white.
It's a grey, and then the cardigan I'm wearing is a dark grey. So I've got grey on grey. But check this out. I'm going to stand up, see if you can see my pants.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
50 shades of grey right there.
I'm wearing grey pants.
Actually, just
3 shades.
Three shades of
grey pants, a grey t-shirt, and a grey cardigan. Luckily, my hair isn't grey yet, but I've seen my father, and it's coming.
Yeah. Well, I've just realized this is the downside to growing up, is you just turn into a boring person.
I know, but I do like green. Green is probably... It used to be when I was younger, it used to be like a royal blue or a dark blue, but as I've got older, it's become like a...
Because boys like blue.
It's become like almost like a khaki green. I quite like.
Yeah. I like a deeper, like sort of darker green.
I'm not opposed to a darker green.
Than a vibrant green, I think. Just sort of.
But our favorite thing,
just if you could imagine a very middle green, like a little bit lower, but darker than that.
Our favorite green, obviously, is the green screen of which we're going to film ourselves to be inserted into movies. That's because that'll bring us the other green, which is the money.
And the other green, which is cocaine that's dyed green.
It gets you high and it's a bit fun. Question E, what is your favorite movie and what would you change about it? Plot, casting, special effects, etc.
Favorite movie? I mean, I'm as lame as you saying Grey, Cambo, because mine is like the Shawshank Redemption. I've said before, which is a lot of people's. I mean, it is hard. I know a lot of people say it's like hard to pin down a movie. I do like the very traditional ones, Shawshank Redemption. I like Fight Club. One that's maybe a little bit off center is Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. I really love that movie. If I could change it, everyone would be Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Damn the plot! If it makes any sense, everyone will be Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yeah, and she's also referred to as Buffy in everything. But all the characters are called Buffy.
It'd be like, I remember the first time I met Buffy Summers. But also that's said by Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah, I like that change. You're right. Favorite movie, it's so subjective, and I think the only way I can really do it is like favorite by like period of time, I guess. So I would say recently, in the last few years, one of the favorite movies I've watched is a movie called Good Time. Stars Rob Pattinson.
That
really liked it. I've rewatched it maybe 4 times or so, 4 or 5 times. And I really like it. But the thing is, I don't know what I would change about it, because I think that what makes movies interesting are kind of like even their faults and stuff. I mean, obviously I would replace Rob with Sarah Michelle Gellar. And everyone would call it Buffy, and it wouldn't be called Good Time. It would be called Buffy the movie, the second one. Brackets. This one has Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah. That is, I could see
it's a catchy title as well.
Yeah.
Question G to Nelson: what is it like being the villain of the show?
Pretty darn good.
Cambo, what is it like to talk to the villain of the show for an hour straight every week? It's okay. And lastly,
I think we established actually Hazim was the villain of the show.
Yeah, to us.
To us. I'm the villain of the show to everybody else. But Hazim is the villain of the show to
lastly,
us.
if you were smart, don't like the implication of if you were smart, by the way. What would be the first thing you would make to make your life easier?
I think flying cars.
Flying cars. And also, you underestimate how easy our lives are. I would say our lives are pretty easy.
My mantra that I just established
So
was
if
do
you were to make
nothing.
something to make your life easier, you'd go against your essential mantra of life, which is to do nothing.
I might make an exception. I'd make a hammock.
Yeah, make a hammock. That's pretty good.
Don't
No,
have one-
Nelson,
don't
just
have one of
buy a
those.
hammock. Make the choice.
Oh, I'd buy a hammock.
You would
obviously.
make
Yeah.
the choice to buy a hammock.
I'd just call somebody to do it. I'd be so smart, I could convince somebody to buy me a hammock.
Well,
That's
I'm
what
very
I
much
would
looking
do.
forward to Carson eventually catching up in about a year and a half to get the answers to these questions.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that's it for another episode. Thank you for writing in, Zachary. Thank you for writing in, Varun. And thank you for writing in, not a cousin, Carson. We really appreciate it. If you would like to write into us, you can do so. Reddit podcast, READIT podcast at gmail.com. You can also reach us at Facebook, Twitter, and our subreddit. They're all READIT
Now,
podcast.
Nelson, last week we said that if you didn't vote on our middle names, you owe us money. And I like the idea of like a fear incentive. So I would say this week, if you don't rate the show 5 stars, you owe us $20. So if you were to leave a 5-star rating in the review, instead of reviewing the show, you can just tell us what you're going to do with the $20 now that you don't owe it to us anymore.
Canberra, I'm just doing the math here. $20 times 15 people is $300.
Don't mind if we do, Nelson. Don't mind if we do.
Yes, I'm looking
Split
forward to
that
spending
3
that
ways.
cash.
1/3 to you, 1/3 to me, and 1/3 to our management. Though we will be under new management fairly soon. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's more of a severance check for them. But that's it for today. So thanks for listening, and we will read you later.